All right, welcome to the impressions vid for the week in Swarm Grinder. Swarm Grinder is an action roguelike game with pixel art graphics. Battle enemies to make your way through a mass of spreading and evolving cells hosting dormant enemies. Collect a variety of game-changing skills and upgrades to create unique builds. Right, so I'm not like this game is probably better described by the shorthand of it's a Vampire Survivors like I'm not sure we have a better term for this, but this is very much Vampire Survivors. It's not as one-to-one as some of the other clones we've seen on the program, as I'm sure Petty is demonstrating here.
But it's a top-down dual analog versus the Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
At least largely auto-attacky.
It's not dual analog. That would... Well, like
right. Vampire Survivors is only one analog, isn't it?
Yeah. Remember, the attack is auto, and it's very much the case here. But the key detail that separates this from the pack was in the bullet points here. You are a robot that's dealing with some kind of organism here. To be honest, I wasn't too clear on the story details. You're trying to put a bunch of drills into the ground for reasons. Look, it's a game like Vampire Survivors. It's not a thing that I was paying attention to the plot or the lore with. But yeah, so the enemy generation is actually very different from your typical Vampire Survivors wannabe, or Vampire Survivors for that matter, because they're not, they don't come out.
They're not spawning off screen and then walking in. They are. It looks like spawning out of these hexagonal cells when your AoE of influence collides with it.
Exactly, and that's the key detail that separates this, because you can actually destroy all the monsters on screen if you're careful enough. A good idea here, Petty, is to not go into the cell walls too fast. Granted, that becomes more difficult as things go on, because it's not, it's not I won't just, move super slow and, restrict the number of enemies, because every few minutes there will be a countdown timer that appears. And once that hits 0, the cell walls disappear and a whole swarm of enemies come in. So,
but you can slow it down.
Yes, theoretically.
Well, I mean, if you move at a slower rate instead of running full speed through everything.
Yes. Also, moving in a circle is, in general, your friend. And every time you put down a drill, that unlocks your progression upgrades. Much like, once again, Vampire Survivors is just going to come up a lot here. You get various auto weapons like a Gatling gun or a rail gun or a cleaver for the the close-up stuff. and you can upgrade them several times, and you get past it.
You are always a robot pilot, but not always the same pilot for the same robot.
Yes, but currently the unlock requirements for the other two pilots are just insane.
Okay, so it's a unlock by playing a lot, and also game isn't finished.
No, they're skill based.
Okay.
It's like you unlock the other pilots by let's see, 1, killing 2,000 enemies, and 2, I think, completing the mission within 15 minutes, because it's not a survival gauntlet here. It's you've got to put down 15 drills. That's your actual goal. And so that feeds into the whole progression. Do you move slower, and things like that.
Is it 2001 run or is it cumulative?
2001 run, remembering correctly. You do get the meta currency, and you can do the more permanent upgrades in this screen right here.
And those are just power-ups that can then appear, or are they actual permanent upgrades?
Permanent upgrades.
Okay.
You will see the difference. You have to get the currency out of the rocks. You see.
It looks like getting enough of the mining zones is also how you actually clear this stage.
Yes, that does feed into it. Right. So that's the setup. And how do I put this? Like, the main trait that makes this probably the most unique Vampire Survivor thing that I've played is also its greatest detriment. Like, because here's the thing. The cell walls, if you move off screen enough, they will come back. Like,
I noticed them regenerating a little bit, even if you just stand still with them on screen.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When they come back with enemies. That feeds into later game problems. And this needs to be reworked heavily. Because
the upgrades that Petty's been getting seem to be pretty minor compared to the threat posed by the amount of enemies you're getting, even at that early point of the game.
Well, that's not what I'm getting at here. Because I'm not sure if Petty is going to be able to show it off. Because, quite frankly, his game playing skills are not the most impressive here. But
I mean, give him a break. It's a new game, but yeah.
That's not my point. The point I'm getting at is this game has a real problem with overwhelming odds. Yeah, I know that's part of Vampire Survivor, but it is out of balance. Because it's connected to the cell wall regeneration thing. And also kind of tied to, we're just going to, send in a wave of enemies. So there is a good chance that you're just going to be overwhelmed by the cellular forces. And I mean, to the point where I was having performance problems. A thing I have never had with Vampire Survivors or its more straightforward clone.
I guess you kind of have to move slowly if you don't want to get completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, there was a point where the frame rate was just utter shit. And I had to give up because I was getting a slideshow. That needs to be fixed. Because it literally turns the game into unplayable garbage. And, yeah, there could be a power differential and all that stuff, but look at this game. It's not exactly on the surface taxing. That's just when you have 100,000 enemies at once approaching you. Like I said, it's the thing I've never had happen with Vampire Survivors itself, or one of the more carbon copy ripoffs. And excuse me, the phlegm there. Anyway, it's something that holds the game back greatly. Like I said, even in small doses, the game can be, even for Vampire Survivors, overwhelming. So, I'm going to just say flat out the difficulty needs to go back to formula or something here. It's too hard. Roguelike and all that stuff, but even for what its genre, what's in the vein of, it's too cranked up. Thankfully, it's only in early access, and it's got quite a bit of early access to go. The predictive period is approximately 6 to 9 months. And they are looking to improve mechanics, add more content, and optimize through updates. So it can be fixed, hopefully. Because otherwise, I can't in good conscience recommend this game over like Vampire Survivors. Like I said,
or that HoloLive one, which I've heard mostly good things about.
Yeah. Like I said, it's got its own distinctive personality, but it's actually something that works against itself. That's where my impressions lied. You've got serious potential here, but you need to rebalance things. In terms of pricing, this is another issue, as it is currently $7.99, $8. So we're already looking pretty expensive for a Vampire Survivors thingamajig. We really need a genre term for this thing. But that's up to the vernacular to come up with. And
Smash TV?
No, because that's a top-down running gun.
Yeah, I guess it's different enough.
Or more specifically, a twin stick shooter. A twin stick shooter is
a thing.
Yeah. This is not a like Vampire Survivors is its own distinctive thing. Like one of the biggest signifiers is the auto battle stuff. Mm-hmm. We even saw it in like that first person game that we reviewed not too long ago. That name escapes me. Anyway, the bigger problem is they are anticipating a 50% increase in price as it comes out of early access, which I'm going to say right now is no bueno, even if they do rebalance things, because that's topping off to about $16, $17 for once again, something in the vein of Vampire Survivors. These games cost like $5 usually. At most I think we've seen 10. Something approaching 20. No. Especially given the level of competition in this space. Just put the brakes right out here. For your own good. Anyway, so that is my assessment on Swarm Grinders. Anything else you wish to add here, Petty or Galix?
I think I'm good.
I think I said everything that came to mind while you were doing it.
All right. So yeah, that'll about do it for this review session. Apologies for the technical problems that were kind of besetting this week's session. Petty will look into it during the week. So anyway, coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, December 13th, we have to be announced of Red Team Games. They are the development team behind the Cards and Castle games. We are set to talk about Cards and Castles 2, should they actually show up. They have been very uncommunicative, and that's usually a precursor to them not showing up on Wednesday. I know this pattern. So, in case that doesn't happen, we'll be talking about the VGAs in depth, more in depth than if we just had part of the show. Anyway, on Friday, December 15th, we'll be having Pavel Giri Stranad of Mysticular on the program. I probably butchered that name. It is very foreign, and I haven't heard it said to me. So, not a great outing on my part. And of course, we do have a new episode of MSP planned. And I think Mac is relatively stable, at least in terms of, say, spite. Like, he seems to be doing programs to spite former partners right now. So, motivation is motivation.
And we're also going to try to resume strategy sessions tomorrow at 8 Eastern, I believe is what he said.
Yeah. Well, it looks like his Blue Monday session got
Yes,
tanked.
that Champions was one of the games that he was doing with them, I think.
Well, I mean, that got tanked because of something on Shadow's Mist, and I saw the thing in the Discord. Anyway, so until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.